Welcome to Barnstable Today. I'm Nick Cortez. The President's Day holiday made it a short week on our daily talk show, Barnstable This Morning, but we were still long on interesting discussions with our guests. We begin our look back on some of the noteworthy moments of the week that was with State Senator Dan Wolf. The senator joined us on Tuesday, February 22nd, to talk about Governor Deval Patrick's recent executive order banning discrimination against transgendered individuals within state government. Wolf is a longtime supporter of GLBT rights and a co-sponsor of a bill that would extend transgender civil rights to the private sector.
Well, I think it's exciting that the governor did it. I think it signed the executive order. I think it's the right thing to have done. And as you say, the bill that I've co-sponsored would extend that through the private sector as well. As with any civil rights legislation, Nick, you sort of idealistically would hope you didn't need legislation to do what should be self-evident, which is that we should be treating all people with dignity and respect in the workplace, and that folks should have their civil rights regardless of sexual preference, and in this case, the transgender population. So very happy that the governor signed the executive order, and I'm very proud to be sponsoring the bill.
I wonder if you could assess for us, considering that we've been spending a lot of time talking about the civil rights landscape in general, how you feel about where we're at in Massachusetts right now across the spectrum, not just on racial lines, but on sexual preference lines as well.
I think we've made a lot of progress, but I think once you stop being focused on it and working on it, you could backslide. So I think it's important that we stay really focused on it. It's not only sort of legal protection, which is important, but it's also a question of looking at how we're doing out in the private sector and whether that's reflecting the bills and the legislation that we're passing. And in the case of civil rights, and you and I discussed this around the time of the Martin Luther King holiday.
Yes.
While we have legislated civil rights, I think, in appropriate ways, there still is a huge gap in education, in employment opportunity, in the employment statistics in that population. We've legislated equal rights for the gay population, but we still have a gap because there still is clearly discrimination. There are hate crimes and discrimination with that population. And the same is true with the transgender population. We can legislate it, but the time between when we legislate good civil rights laws and when we actually see that reflected in how we behave and in the culture, it takes time.
On Wednesday, February 23rd, our weekly transportation segment featured Cape Cod Regional Transit Authority Administrator Tom Kerr. Tom shared with us the good news that ridership in 2010 was up another 6%, and that it stands to increase even more now that the extension of fixed-route bus service to the Upper Cape is poised for a likely debut this fall.
You know, we're very happy and very pleased with the numbers, and we wait for them to sort of level off, but every month we check, and they continue to rise, which is good because we are making a concerted effort to get out there and encourage people to use public transportation. We have congestion issues not only in the summer but all around the year now, and our vehicles, I'm sure you've seen them around, they're very nice and reliable and clean, and we are making a real effort to tell people to give us a try, and we have a marketing committee that does a great work, and you probably heard some of our ads on a lot of the radio stations. So I attribute the success to the great staff we have here and the enthusiasm that they bring to work every day.
Now, right before we let you go here, I have one last question for you. Not really so much a question, but I'm curious for you to update us on the progress that's being made towards extending that fixed route service, as you had mentioned. I read a report recently that could happen maybe as early as October 1st.
Yeah, that's our goal. We want to do it right, and we also want to make sure that the people in Bourne and Sandwich, and there's over 40,000 year-round residents in those two towns, and there's 80 square miles plus in those two towns. So I want to make sure we do it right. We're going to have a couple of public meetings in those communities after May 2nd, because May 2nd is the day that the MPO members, which is the Metropolitan Planning Organization in our region, will determine if the funds that we're hoping are available will be available, and I'm confident they will be. So then we'll move forward for this October 1st new fixed route from the Upper Cape. But there's a lot of reasons other than just having a comprehensive fixed route service from P-Town to the Upper Cape. We have the Sturgis School and Pope John and a lot of schools in Barnstable now. And even though the FTA, prohibits, public transportation into schools, we can still take school children very close to their schools if it's on our fixed route. And, the Sturgis School is a great story, and had a gentleman come over the other day from their school, and he showed me the numbers of kids that attend the school from the various Cape towns. There's 35 from Bourne, there's 57 from Sandwich already. So we've added a trailer bus to our fixed route already from the Upper Cape that comes from Falmouth. And I think that, if we can get this Upper Cape Bourne Sandwich service going, there'll be another opportunity for getting people not only to Sturgis and to the schools here, but, to all the other things that happen in the hub of Cape Cod, Barnstable. So
the cost of shipping trash off Cape is guaranteed to become more expensive when the town's contract with CMAS expires in 2015. One way Barnstable can control those future costs is to reduce the amount of waste the town produces, and that means improving our notoriously dismal recycling rate. A possible strategy that's once again gaining some traction is municipal curbside trash pickup. And we talked about that with Town Council President Fred Chirigotis on Thursday, February 24th.
We know the cost of disposal of our refuse is going to increase exponentially in 2015.
Right.
We already know that.
Right, when the CMAS contract is renegotiated, of course.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So what can we do to rein in the cost and to make it more cost effective? You look at a place like Nantucket, which, they've got to ship it all off of the island at some point in time. So they've actually become, I think, a leader in recycling across the state. We need to look at, recycling everything, including the organic waste, even food, composting, animal feed. There are all kinds of ways to address, all the materials we use. And people all talk about making a smaller carbon footprint. We throw away so much more than we use. We need to use everything we can, and we need to recycle everything that we can.
And in order to switch to municipal pickup, I wonder if there's been any kind of analysis done, at least in recent history, as to what that's going to take from a money standpoint, because obviously we're on a system of many private haulers around our community. I know that people have said, we don't need 3 or 4 garbage trucks coming down a street in a week, and I could see that. I agree with it, but ultimately it comes down to dollars and cents.
I think you're absolutely right, and that's why the study has to be done. There were studies in the past, but they haven't gone anywhere. And you're absolutely right. Is we don't want, and I think people in the town of Barnstable don't want to have different garbage trucks coming down the same street, 3 or 4 or 5 different times a day to each make one stop. It's not cost effective to anybody.
Right.
Recycling right now, everyone can recycle at the transfer station for free. You can bring your recyclables for free. You don't need to get a sticker to do that. Recycling at the curbside has been an additional cost. So people who have curbside pickup traditionally have not been recycling because they have to pay extra for that.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to be able to figure out how it works for everybody, and we need to be able to make sure that everyone is recycling.
Governor Deval Patrick was on Cape this week to talk with healthcare providers, business leaders, and elected officials about his new proposal to help control healthcare costs. Notably absent from those discussions was State Representative Demetrius Atzelis, who on Thursday's edition of BTM explained why he stayed away.
I'm a little bit on the fence right now. The governor was down here this past week, didn't attend the meeting here at Cape Cod Hospital. I didn't want to send the wrong message that I was on board with his proposal without knowing exactly what was happening with it. That being said, we have to do something to contain the cost of health care. This is a start. The governor's pointed in the right direction to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to bring in the cost associated with going to a doctor. If I need a procedure and they give me a number of tests, really the tests are unlimited. What a doctor can do for me, which I think is appropriate. But what the governor wants to do on a scale is to say, well, instead of having X, Y, and Z done, we'll allow X and Y to get done, and we'll pay an appropriate rate for that. And that's where I have some problems because, we're talking about health care. We're trying to help out a patient get better from maybe a terminal illness, and we shouldn't limit what that patient should be able to do to make himself or herself better. And in a sense, that's what the governor's doing, though.
Yeah, and you know what?
From what I understand, also will hurt our local hospital, Cape Cod Hospital, as far as the reimbursements for those procedures.
Remember, if you'd like to see any of these complete interviews, full-length episodes of Barnstable This Morning are available to watch online. You can check them out at town.barnstable.ma.us. Well, that's all for now. Everybody have a great weekend. I'm Nick Cortez, and we'll see you next time on Barnstable Today.